Solana ETF with staking goes live tomorrow. Is that going to be the floodgate that opens to Wall Street getting into altcoins? Also, on more ETF news, Grayscale's large cap fund officially got approval from the SEC to convert into an ETF. We are invading Wall Street, and wait till you hear the RIA of RIAs, what percentage allocation he is telling his clients to put into crypto. The answer might shock you. We're talking about someone who handles $300 billion a year for his clients. Number is kind of insane, if you ask me. We'll talk about that. We have Magic joining us to break down the charts. We're going to talk about Solana. We'll take a look at a Robinhood chart. Speaking of Robinhood, Vlad Tenev was making his rounds as history was made. One obscure altcoin, well, I shouldn't say obscure, but one funny altcoin was swapped for actual Tesla stock on chain. And what does that future look like with stocks coming on the blockchain? VeChain went through its massive Stargate update. We'll talk about that. We have so much to talk about today. With that being said, let's go.
It's your boy, Big Rob, back in the house. Welcome to Sin City Crypto, home of the entertainment-focused cryptocurrency content. We take old, boring, stale information, repackage it all up in a fun, sexy, and amazing Las Vegas, Elvis, Solana ETF kind of way. My God. You know what? Why is Solana not rallying right now? Like,
Everything's down, brother.
I mean,
Don't overthink it, my friend. Everything's
what is happening here? Take a look. Solana down 5% today. It's down more than XRP. It's down more than Ethereum. It's down more than Tron and Doge and Cardano. It's like backwards world here. You know, I'm not saying it should be rallying because
it's down a lot.
Because Bitcoin is down a little bit. And if Bitcoin's down a little bit, I get it. I don't expect Solana to be up. I expect the rest of the ours. But why is Solana down the most out of the top 10 altcoins? I'm just confused there. Did I miss something?
We're going to deport Anatoly. He doesn't know what he's doing. Yeah. I don't know. You think the allure of an ETF approval is just gone? Doesn't exist anymore?
I would say yes. I think
Really?
that is.
You think so?
Yeah.
Interesting. All right.
I mean, it doesn't do anything for Ethereum. It did rally Ethereum up to almost 4,000, or for like a brief 2-minute window, it got to 4,000. But it didn't do anything for Ethereum in the long term, right? Ever since the Ethereum listing, Ethereum has been down and to the right. What was the Ethereum listing?
May of last year, bro.
Was that? Are you sure about that?
May of last year. Yeah.
Ooh, boy. And so on the 1 year, where's
You're not going to catch it on the 1 year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 5, yeah. I mean, we got one peak here.
Yeah, that's when no one was expecting it, and they came out and said they're gonna approve it, and then a week later it got approved, and then it dumped. Yeah.
You know, I searched for that video yesterday, by the way.
Couldn't find it.
I didn't have the time. I got through about 4 videos. I even tried to get AI to help me, and I just couldn't find it. But don't you worry, I am still on the hunt.
Yeah.
What's your? Do you have any different feelings about Ethereum? I don't want to make this Ethereum.
Love Ethereum.
I don't want to make this an Ethereum show. But I just real quick.
Okay.
Are you still got conviction on Ethereum? You still think Ethereum's going to outperform Solana this year? That was your kind of big takeaway.
I do. And I'm not saying that Ethereum is better than Solana. I think we can both agree. Solana 20x'd. What has Ethereum done? You think it could 5x by the end of the year? Or not by the end of the year, but maybe by the end of the cycle?
I don't even think it's gonna forex.
Yeah, I really don't want to have this conversation again, to be completely honest with you. I just don't want to do the back and forth. I believe ETH is going to have a rally. I think it's going to get to 8 to 12K by the end of the cycle. Now, whether that's by the end of the year,
That's a 4x.
sometime in 2026. No, it's at 5X. 5X would be 12.5K.
I said I don't even think it's gonna 4x,
Yeah.
which
And-
means I don't think it's gonna break 10 grand. Is where I don't think. I think it gets to 9,000 to 8,000. I don't think it breaks. I genuinely don't think it breaks $10,000.
I think it'll go 8 to 12. That's my range for ETH. So,
Well, we're not
and
that far off. You're over here scoffing at me, bro.
No,
mean,
I just don't want to have the back and forth again on ETH. Like we've done that so many times. Now, that's not to say Solana won't go from 1.7 or what is that, 150 to $500. I think you can do that. 550.
That's all you think it's gonna get is 500. I think Solana is gonna go to 1,000, and I think that ETH gets to 8,000. I think that's what happens this cycle. It's just diminishing users, right? There's less user activity. Now, institutions have an interest in it. And I absolutely see a scenario where I'm wrong. 100%.
Me too.
I'm not
clear as day, man.
I'm not delusional here at all.
Like the springs preserve, the water.
But I still go back, and we always talk about it like, hey, if you don't have the users, and I'm not saying ETH doesn't have users, but I'm just saying that like from base principle, if you don't have the users, nobody's going to buy your chain. Nobody's going to buy it. It can't sustain price, right? We always talk about it like, hey, you need the dApps. But the problem is with Ethereum is that the dApps are being built elsewhere. The users are leaving. TVL is leaving. And it's Robinhood decided to do an RWA tokenized stock movement through which network?
Ethereum. Arbitrum.
So, it's interesting because it's like, on one hand, I mean, I see the potential, but the users, man, the people, the everyday people just aren't using it.
So you think TVL is leaving, huh? Take a look at this. It's from DeFi Llama here.
I'm not saying TVL isn't
what you
growing
said.
over time.
You said TVL is going down. That's what
if you were to take the percentage, if you compare it to Solana, can you do that? Can you compare the TVL growth and compared to Solana from ETH?
Oh, I think so. Yeah, you gotta give me some time to figure it out. Though.
Okay.
Oh, there we go. Compare chains here.
Ashley sent a $2 super chat. Said, "Open the club or step on Legos barefoot."
Is that a threat or?
I'm not. Do Legos really hurt that bad?
Absolutely. What the hell?
I've gotten a couple of them.
What kind of?
It's really not that bad. For me, the worst is the bedpost and splitting the big toe and the little toe. That's the worst, right?
Oh, well, okay. Here, Rob. Here's comparing TVL Solana versus ETH. Blue is Ethereum, green Solana.
Yeah, but okay, I'll give it to you. Sure.
Thank you.
I was gonna mention that from a percentage standpoint, you're looking at raw numbers, and of course, Solana's a way smaller blockchain. I'm just saying that the shift is happening, right?
So let's see. Over the last 1 month, TVL on ETH is up 2%. Solana is down 4%. On the 7-day, Solana edges Ethereum 2% to 1.7.
What about the year, bro? What about the last 4 years, the year or something like that? Can you look that far back? It's like this. It's like if we were talking about Blockbuster versus, say, Netflix, right? And we were back in like 2001. You can be like, look, man, Blockbuster has all the users. They have 98% of all of the people are renting movies from Blockbuster.
You are not comparing.
And then you have the up and coming better alternative to renting movies, which is Netflix. And it wasn't just a overnight thing, right? It took a process about 10 years for Netflix to essentially assassinate
Rob,
Blockbuster.
Have you ever thought about running for politics? You are very gifted in switching a narrative to fit your narrative, Very gifted. Very gifted. I would vote for you for sure.
Would you?
I would, yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. If you would vote for Rob, if you ran for a political seat, I don't know, Senate, House, put a 1 in the chat. Very, very talented man here. Now, So
My only problem is, man, you know, like you gotta be extra careful because the cancel culture in politics is dangerous. Man.
you would get canceled. Probably
you point at a plane and it's all of a sudden you're like
you'd get canceled in approximately 5 minutes.
Yeah.
5 minutes, I think. But those would be glorious 5 minutes. I would vote.
How many buttons do I gotta have for politics?
All the way up, man.
All the way up,
straight up, fool. And then you gotta lift up the sides.
Okay.
You know, I was looking for a good segue for this, but I don't have one. I just don't want to sit on it too long. Take a look at what our president is now made. A fragrance. Trump fragrances are here. This is verified, by the way, on his Truth Social. They're called Victory 4547 because they're all about winning, strength, and success. For men and women, get yourself a bottle. And don't forget to get one for your loved ones, too. Enjoy, have fun, and keep winning. You want to see how much these cost? See how much they cost.
Can we get one for the office?
$250.
Look, let's get one for the office. We'll keep it in the bathroom. Anytime somebody drops a dookie, we can just hit it with a little Trump be gone. And
$250. I'm sorry. Man. Well,
$10 super chat, Canadian dollars.
wow, just
Alex.
25 more of those and we can buy a Trump cologne, guys. Thanks, Alex.
He said, Rob for Prime Minister of the 51st state.
Yeah. Yeah, I 250. Does it get better? There's more. Sold out. I mean, come on, bro.
You gotta smell good, bro. Smell like success.
It's such a bad look for a president. I don't know, man. I don't know what this guy's doing.
You think cologne's a bad look?
Everything that he's done so far on the marketing side, from the meme coin to the Air Force Ones, it's a bad look, bro. Do your term and then start promoting.
You're stopping the train here on this one. Like,
no, there's
everything he's
literally everything. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. This is the icing on the cake.
No.
I heard
the Melania coin was icing on the cake. I don't think it gets much lower than that. I don't know.
I mean, why? No, it's him. I mean, I don't know, man. It's like, dude, you're the president of the free world. God damn it, bro. Like, Jesus Christ. Anyways, let's talk about this. I am going to get Magic's take on it once we bring him on. But first, I want to talk about this right here. Theme of the show today, coming Wednesday, the first ever staked crypto ETF in the United States, introducing the Rex Osprey Sol Plus Staking ETF, such a long name, designed to track the performance of Solana while generating yield through on-chain staking, Sol exposure, and staking rewards. A new era of yield-generating crypto exposure is here. And then to piggyback off of that, some more ETF news. It's from James Seyfert. There's the approval order for Grayscale's GDLC to convert into an ETF. This is their digital large cap fund that holds Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, XRP, and Cardano. The final deadline was tomorrow, but they don't wait for tomorrow because it's already been approved. Rob brought up the point. Why is Solana dumping? We're going to have Magic look at the chart on Solana in a second. But Rob, I don't think this is anything that we see as, oh my God, they can't believe they approved it. We all saw this coming. This pretty much opens the door for Ethereum staking and then all the other ones that are in line to get approved, correct? Cardano, Hedera, XLM.
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, if you're going to approve an ETF that has XRP, Cardano, and Solana in it, then you might as well just assume that it's 100% shoo-in, right, for Solana, for XRP and Cardano. That's kind of my takeaway. Not that it has breaking news, but
you really button your shirt up all the way. Sorry, I just noticed that. School pictures today, huh? I like it. You look sharp, man.
Thank you.
Very well. See how I throw you compliments randomly? Have you thrown me one compliment? I don't think so. Anyways, we got Magic on the show. Magic Tuesday. What? Hi, Magic. How are you, man?
How much was a compliment?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
Good. You don't have to compliment the shirt. You literally can compliment anything else.
I think he looks dapper, man.
Me or Rob?
both of you, but with the button up there,
You meant
very,
Rob.
very
Thanks,
bad.
Magic. You just jump on the train too, my friend. You meant Rob. It's great. Magic, I gotta know, brother. Trump cologne,
Mm,
victory 45, 47. Are you buying?
he dropped it. No, I don't wear cologne, believe it or not,
Fair enough.
ever.
By
I
the
don't
way,
think I
if
own a
those of
single
you,
cologne.
if you forgot what we're talking about this right here. And you got my take. And thanks, Jimmy. He said, David clearly shops at Walgreens. Well, obviously, I said I shop at Walgreens. So, duh. But, so I take it, Magic, you're not interested in any cologne. I was going to buy you one. I was going to drop the 250 and buy you one for your birthday or Christmas or something. But if you don't want it, bro, I won't do it.
I'll probably pass. Give that to someone else that needs it. I'm sure that you could send that overseas to like India or Saudi Arabia or something and to get some good use there. So
Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
they love the guy over there. Sorry, that's probably a little harsh, but
That's
it is
okay.
what it is.
I like it. Okay. Magic. We're just talking about Solana. ETF is live. Price action is dead.
Yeah.
What the hell's going on? Sol had a huge run from like $12 to $290. It's been
Yep.
it's been withering away since the peak of the meme coin cycle, so to say, with the Libra coin and the Trump coin and Melania coin. It hasn't really rebounded. Are you seeing any strength in the Solana chart? Please go ahead and share a chart with us.
Sure. Same chart we've talked about on this one before. We actually built this out on your show.
We
This
did.
was the setup for the long. Yeah, we talked about how it front ran it here. We got this nice area to buy, and we're looking for this box up here, which is like your first target, your 50%. Also, it was the yearly open and a huge level at 180.93. The one reason I want to highlight that level is that is actually from the previous all-time high. That is your monthly low. That monthly candle is quite important just based on how it formed, and it was a swing fail. So you want to see acceptance above this level to see any kind of like challenge of this high. And it's just been a really solid level to have on the chart going forward. So as of right now, you can see that the 2023 high, which is, the only other level on this chart, is kind of holding us up. Um, it's not looking terrible. It's not looking great. You're range bound right now. It's kind of a boring market while Bitcoin does its thing. I think that's kind of the story of like 90% of alts. They're fun for a little bit, and then this happens. So for me, um, I wouldn't be too bearish on it. Now, if you start living below about 120 again, yeah, I mean that's probably a bad look. You can see why. You've built up quite a shelf here. Losing that would make me think $70 is coming fairly quickly below like 126 on meaningful time closures, like weeklies. That would not look good. So to me, everything's fine above 126. You're range bound between 126 and 180, give or take. And that's a really big, good sized range for anyone that likes to trade those. So, I mean, I don't even know what the percentage is on that, but it's close to 50%, I imagine. Yeah. Like, what is that? 43 if we go to the bottom side of it. Yeah, 42. So, yeah, Solana, it is boring, but that's range trading.
Exciting. Very exciting.
I know.
A lot of it, Rob's over here talking about, oh, we're gonna see $1,000 Solana before we see a $10,000 Ethereum. I don't think so, buddy. I don't think so. But I'm just looking at from a value perspective, right? There's still a lot being built on Solana, and at an $80 billion market cap, I'm not saying it's like super undervalued, but I think this thing should be sitting, I don't know, 250 billion, 300 billion maybe, in total volume, which is a little less than a 4x from here. But Magic, I want to pivot from Solana to BTC. 1083, couldn't get past that. We
Yep.
showed an article yesterday talking about Bitcoin potentially going down to 102. A little bit of a long squeeze. What are you seeing on the Bitcoin chart, Magic? And if you were to kind of make an educated guess based off of probabilities, you think the next leg is going to be up or down?
Based on where we are on the chart,
Yeah,
the probabilities actually suggest up. Um,
really.
you do have conflicting probabilities, and we'll talk about that. But
Sure.
as of right now, up is the more likely area. So to start off our Bitcoin chart, I do like to do this every week. We build off of last week. So this is from last week's show. It's dated there. This is when the show occurred. We said that the key level was 105,352. And there's your back test after the show, and it's been good. So what we ran into was the high from our previous top that we had made. And it's kind of hard to see because we're on the 1 hour chart, but it's all the way over here. So it is one of those things where, yeah, we ran into the 2024 high, basically. And if you go out to like a monthly chart, you can see that you've failed to close any monthly candles above this high so far at 108,450. So had we closed June out above this level, I think we talked a little bit about it briefly last week. Things look like it's going to push and make a new high. And I think that's still on the table. Now, what's really interesting about this monthly candle that we just had, very similar to the last weekly candle we had, where this is an inside weekly candle. You can see that the high is above and the low is below here. So again, to reiterate the probabilities of that, that has only happened 56 times in Bitcoin's history, going back to about the 20K all-time high, because before that, price action is just kind of insane. Um, you've only seen that happen consecutively 2 times out of those 56. So we knew with pretty good certainty that we were going to take the weekly high at the open, because you also made a weekly high on the weekend. And that puts it at 82 out of 93 times that you have made a high over the weekend. You will immediately take the high or the low if that value comes in during non-traditional hours. So it's a really interesting stat. Now, what makes it more interesting is that you also had a monthly candle that was inside. So you can see that we did not take the high or the low of the last candle. Most people say, well, that just means consolidation. You are correct. But you can see here, we don't really do that often. And when we do, sometimes we just take it by a dollar or two. But Bitcoin will constantly stop itself out, which is very interesting to see. The only time that we have ever done two consecutive on Bitcoin on a monthly inside closure is right here back at the 14K high, going all the way back to 2019. So we should expect that there is going to either be a new high made on the monthly chart, which would put us up here again above $110,000, or a low of 98. And both of those values are very interesting. And what you can do to make it very simple for yourself, which way should I, lean probability wise, is just to mark off that candle, because this candle is an outlier candle. It's not something that occurs very often. So we know where the high and the low is, and we know that the probabilities are heavily swayed that we're going to hit one of these values. Um, the power of understanding where the median is and utilizing that information is where you're going to be able to make a decision. Basically, showing us that as long as we're above the EQ of this, the probabilities of us making a new high are actually in favor. So, as long as we're holding the EQ, things are quite good to challenge and make a new high. And we know that statistically speaking, we're very likely to, especially since we are trending above our 6-month and quarterly pivot, and all our other major time frame pivots are beneath us. And the value here is on the right. I'm going to shift it to the left so you guys can actually see it. 97,852, which is right there at the low, letting us know that if this does lose this like 104, 105 region, those odds have now shifted to, okay, this inside bar is probably going to play out to the downside, and we're going to see this statistical target hit. So as of right now, it's more likely we make a move up, but that can change, quickly, just below like 104 or 105. And then, it's a patience game of, do I get to play this region of the chart, which historically, when the 6-month and the quarterly average are identical, which means that the last 3 months of price action essentially encompass both the high, the low, and then obviously the close comes in there. Since it was all in that last 3 months, they end up the same value. It doesn't happen very often, but when it does, if you're holding this as support, the market is in very good shape. But at the moment those two values on the high time frames are lost, that's where things become worrisome. And so that's kind of how I'm seeing things right now. I would much prefer Bitcoin come down in here, get a good test of this region, and then work its way back up before coming to here. So I think a lot of people want this, but you don't always get what you want. So again, probability wise, highs first, but that changes just below 104.
Um, so yeah, Crypto Crank said, we just touched the top of the parallel channel, liquidity hunt at 1047. And if it doesn't hold, then a lower low at the bottom of the channel. No buyers in this range. That's kind of what his comment was
Yeah.
there. So yeah, I mean, I think we do get another move. It's the same conversation we are having 2 months ago. It's like, sure, the price is choppy or maybe even leaning a little down, but there's just so much
Mhm.
bullish narrative, and this is strictly from like a narrative and a fundamental standpoint. I'm sure if you go down different time frames, it'll tell you something different. But I just can't imagine. And let's just pull this up now. People are always asking, well, if you keep sharing this news, guys, that this person's buying and this treasury company was created, why is the price moving? A lot of these deals happen OTC. Well, guess what? Bitcoin OTC balances have dropped to a 10-year low of 156,600 Bitcoin, plus the 450 the miners are mining a day. And I don't have a stat to back this up, but I'm assuming they're not selling all 450 of them that they're mining. You have Marathon that not only is keeping some of what they're mining, but they're buying additional Bitcoin. And so there's going to come an inflection point at some point, and you don't want to be on the wrong side when this thing gets moving. Sure, can we have more downside? Yeah, sure, we can. But I think you expand your time horizon 6 to 12 months. I think Bitcoin is up only with some short-term drops in price. I don't know. What do you think about that, Magic? Anything you want to add to that before we move on?
I mean, I agree with you that there is a lot of potential for this chart. I still think that we're at a really big inflection point in the market in terms of just like overall expansions um, in this cycle. But this thing can dip quite heavily and not really break anything. So if there is a little bit of downside, I do, think just like you that even if we saw 97, 98, that to me is an opportunity. Again, you've got a lot of things there where one, it's just a higher low, and two, you're above all major averages still, plus above your yearly open. The major sign of weakness would come with a loss of like anywhere from like mid 93s to 97. If that area was lost, you're going to see me change my tune a little bit. But it's one of those things where, like I said, and if the market dipped to those values from where we are at 160, people lose their minds. So I do agree with you that if that dip happens, it's for buying at least initially. See what the bounce comes of because it may just consolidate a little bit more before having a really nice quarter 3 and quarter 4. I can't remember who said the statistic, but in all positive years for Bitcoin, the high came in at the end of the year, I
Yep.
think is what I'd heard. I haven't back tested that, so anybody can fact check me. But if the year was positive, they said that the high of the year came in like quarter 4 or something. And I was like,
I'm
that's,
almost certain you're
I got to
right,
look.
Magic. I'm almost certain
Yeah, I got to
you're
look
on
into
point.
that.
Yeah. October, November usually. We saw it in
Mm,
2021. We saw it again in 2017. Okay, Magic. There's a lot of news coming out of Robinhood. So I want to shift the chart to traditional stocks. I asked you for
sure.
a Robinhood chart, or I'm going to ask you for a Robinhood chart, but can you also make like kind of quickly take a peek at either the Nasdaq or the S&P? And
Yeah.
like, is that thing overextended? I know it's been hitting all time highs, and then definitely want to see a Robinhood chart if you don't mind.
Yeah. So I got the SPX up because that's one that I do keep an eye on.
Cool.
I have a huge buy box here. But that was all based off of like 5-year moving averages and oversold conditions. So it kind of gave us a wide zone, but it filled out a fair amount of it. But this was kind of the major resistance. I started posting about this all the way back in November of last year that this 6K level was big. And it did result in a huge sell off into this, what some would consider generational opportunity. Um, so you're above that resistance until this thing comes back down. I would say the previous week's low almost at 5,900. Call it 6K if you just like even numbers. Maybe it comes down and fills this gap, but that to me wouldn't look that great. I would like to see continuation out of this and see if it can push to that negative 618 here at like $6,400. So everything's fine with the SPX. There's no sign of weakness. If you're going to see one, it's it'll be recognized pretty easily when you start dipping back into like the 6,000 range. Um, so yeah, I mean, all systems go. I mean, SPX is doing what it does. It's up and to the right. If they're going to keep printing money and spending it, things like this are going to continue to go up. So, in terms of Hood, that was a new one for me. I have not looked at that. I think I spent like 5 minutes before, and nothing wrong with that because there's not a lot on this chart. I, I was surprised that this was the length of the chart going back to 2021. So, uh, but it is what it is. So I've got a lot on here. I'm going to delete some of it, or at least hide it, at least initially, so that we can kind of have a chat about just what we're looking at target wise. You are at some resistance here. So if we were to just kind of shore this up a little bit, clean it up, you can see that if we went off just the last, high to low, looking for traditional expansions here at the 1618, you have pushed that $90 level, but you do have some, 200% expansion resistance at about 104. So this thing has hit a high of about 99 bucks, that psychological $100 number. Now, getting more into negatives. So we're using our monthly candles for this, is how I kind of determined these 2 points, the monthly low here and the monthly high between 1398 and 6691. Then expanding for a negative, you do have your negative golden ratio right here at 9962, which is exactly where you're rejecting from. Now, in terms of how this candle looks, this looks very strong. You could dip on this thing, and there's going to be some pretty clear and obvious areas that, if lost, it looks bad. But if this thing pulled back even like 20%, it's not the end of the world. It's moving pretty good. In terms of doing things through a Fibonacci expansion, from a trend, same data points here, looking for the low and then looking at that. This would have you pushing closer to like 115 unless you lose about $82. So again, this thing high to low, you're close to some minor resistance at 106. So I think that you've got some roadblocks in front of you in the low 100s here. So you will see some turbulence, but it's not the end of the world. And if we start looking at things in terms of, okay, there's our prior high, even though this is only about 5.5 months worth of price action in 2021, if I recall. So not like the most definitive high that you want to use, but it is there. But start looking at things through like the quarterly, and you can see how strong this quarter was right here. And then you've got your previous quarter's high, well, quarter one high right here, 6691. And as you start kind of like diving into the chart a little bit more, you can see that's your nice consolidation. So this could come back quite far and not really do any damage to the chart. So if someone was interested in this as an asset to hold, it actually doesn't look bad. It really doesn't look all that bad. In terms of resistance, yeah, just general resistances that we're talking about. The 104 is there on a like just a standard pivot, just trying to project and see if we can have any convergence. So I do think that you have some turbulence between here and like 105, give or take a dollar or two. So keep that in mind. But realistically, until you start giving up almost like $70 here, down to like this 66, like, this quarterly high, I mean, this thing is fine. If it were to pull all the way back down into this region, wouldn't look great, but the stock would be fine. So I would say consolidation here, more than likely. If it's going to get immediate continuation, any kind of a retrace is probably going to be shallow into like that low to mid 80s region, and continuation from there, probably to formally tag just above 100 since we front ran it. And then we'll see what kind of reaction we get. But yeah, it looks good. I've talked a lot of smack on Robinhood just because of the
GameStop.
I think that there's just a lot of stereotypes about the exchange because they got a bad reputation early on. I think because they held assets a certain way or the way they did things, or released them, stuff like that. But I generally, I don't use Robinhood. I never have, so I shouldn't have any real opinion on it, to be honest.
Yeah,
And the chart looks good.
I have a Robinhood account. I don't have any money in it, but they're slowly becoming a leader in blockchain and the
You
future
know
of
why?
investing.
It's because they're so easy and they do great marketing. I'm not like oblivious to who they are. I don't
Yeah,
watch any TV or any programming, but I get Robinhood ads still.
yeah,
And they've really appealed to the younger generation and got them into the idea of investing. And then they just deployed like a ground roots type campaign where you saw it on TikTok when I was doing TikToks a lot back in like 2020, 2021. I saw a ton of people promoting Robinhood, and it sounds silly, but it really goes a long way. You get users on the app, and then you run into this thing, and I don't think people realize it. As you get older, you do, but people don't like to change. And so, even though bad news came out about Robinhood, as long as the platform remained user friendly and they were comfortable on it, people were just going to stay and continue to use it because they didn't want to have to go through the hassle of going somewhere else, filling out the paperwork. That's what keeps people there. And I think that works to an extent. You can't like rely on that solely, but it plays a huge factor,
yeah.
so it is what it is.
Pep Brett said Robinhood and the case of the disappearing buttons. Sell
Yeah.
button. That's pretty funny. Guys, if you enjoy Magic, if you enjoy his insight, go join his Discord. We do have that link pinned to the top. He joins us every single Tuesday. And Magic, look forward to having you on next week, brother. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.
Thank you.
All right, let's talk about Robinhood. Here is Vlad Tenev on CNBC talking about, well, what's been going on?
I believe it will make it easier to invest in American companies if you're outside the world. It will also bring the markets into 24/7 and fully on-chain and get all the benefits that crypto technology levies on these traditional assets. So I think it's time to move beyond Bitcoin and meme coins into real-world assets that exhibit fundamental utility. I believe.
So, narrative aside, what are your thoughts on his outfit choice there, my friend? You like it, or? Now, there's a meme says, Vlad to his stylist today, we're talking crypto today. Make me look like a scammer. That's pretty funny. Well,
does he have 2 dress shirts, or is that just the shadow on his neck?
That's a scarf.
Oh,
yeah.
Scarf, top button undone.
So you got the Tony Montana shirt over here, Al Pacino. Then you got a white and then a black flower bandana, flowing hair, glasses, and looks like a weird blister on his face. What is that? What are they called? The bump thing? Like boils. It's a boil. So, yeah, guys, all jokes aside, Robinhood, the #1 retail platform where people are buying, retail is buying stocks. And take a look at this. It's posted by Marty Party. This is how fast you can buy and sell Tesla stock with Solana. Jupiter, swap USDT for Tesla X. And then to sell it, swap Tesla X for USDT. And the cost is 0.00032 cents on Solana. You also have this as well from Robinhood. Perpetuals have landed. Crypto perp futures are starting to roll out to the European Union customers. Guys, I'll tell you, we have a lot of these exchanges reaching out to us, the decentralized exchanges. Well, we shouldn't say decentralized, but the futures exchanges, I'm not going to name any names, they're reaching out, and they're on a very, very rapid timeline to get into the U.S. market. They're reaching out to U.S. KOLs, trying to penetrate the market. Now that we know there's a more crypto-friendly administration, they can come in here, set up shop. Usually they've been focused on, Asia, the Middle East. U.S. is going to be front and center, and it's going to be a race to who can have the best product with the lowest fees. And it's happening, and Robinhood just joined the match there. We have this. Connecticut officially bans the state from creating a Bitcoin reserve or investing any digital assets. So, yeah. You know what's interesting about Connecticut, Rob? They're the 7th oldest state in the country in terms of median age.
Wow. That is amazing.
Thank you.
The show is really gone to another level. It's
due to your contributions.
thank you. Maybe tomorrow you can kind of go over some historical presidents.
Good idea.
Maybe some of the big Revolutionary War battles that were fought.
Maybe people will be intrigued.
Yeah.
Maybe YouTube will show our content. It's just interesting. They go out of their way to be like, oh, it hasn't happened yet, but we're going to ban it. Okay. Interesting. You have this from Scott Melker. So yesterday we're talking about how bullish it would be. Apparently the White House, it was front and center that the crypto tax kind of amendment make it into the big, beautiful bill. Well, sorry to tell you guys, but the amendment was dropped from the U.S. Senate's one big, beautiful bill. It passed the Senate. It's got to go back to the House because the Senate made some changes. And I think the House called a vote on it tomorrow. They're trying to get this to the president's desk by July 4th, which, by the way, July 4th, we will not be streaming. We'll be barbecuing instead. Remember that one year you had the great idea of streaming while you were barbecuing?
I didn't do that.
I know, but that was your idea.
Oh.
Yeah, you were like, maybe I'll stream while I'm barbecuing. I was like, yeah, good luck with that, Rob. So, unfortunate, but it's not the end. we'll see what comes out of it. And then you have this as well. USDC issuer Circle applies for National Trust Bank license. I saw a post or a reply that said Ripple becoming a bank is not so far-fetched, is it? Rob, thoughts?
It's also interesting that maybe what we identify as banks or exchanges now are going to end up.
I don't identify as a bank. I identify as a he.
Because you had the, was it the Deutsche Bank has offered crypto services, or is it preparing to?
Crypto
And
custody.
custody.
Yeah, okay, that's what I'm
followed
saying.
by
Custody and services.
Yes.
But custody is the big one to me.
But here's the thing. You're not going to offer custody without offering a way to buy it, right? And which means services. You know, you're not gonna have a bank that says, you know what, we'll hold your stocks here in your portfolio, but you can't buy any. Just send them over here. We'll let you buy gold, or we'll let you store gold, but you can't buy. So it's all intertwined. But you know, I was thinking this morning, and you know, I tweeted about it as well. But
Oh, you did?
I was thinking, I was like, you know, are banks, are the exchanges that we have now, are those going to fade? And then from there, we're going to go to, yeah, there it is. Will exchanges fade as banks take over?
I would never have guessed this was you because this is picture perfect grammar, my friend.
A lot of big words in there. That's why.
I mean, that's a fair point, man. That's a fair point. I mean, the problem is the media paints crypto, everything is negative. Now, yes, there's been negativity, FTX, Voyager,
but we talked yesterday about Robinhood.
Yeah, but when that's the only thing they report on, like, okay, let's be honest here. Sometimes when you mention to someone, well, not sometimes, I would say majority of the time, when I bring up crypto to someone, they're like, well, what do you do? I'm like, oh, I do a podcast of crypto. Oh, crypto? So they're just scamming people? Let
me give you a scenario.
Give me a scenario.
Okay. When I first was traveling international, and I had a bank account.
Yeah.
So going to Europe.
What year was this?
Probably like 2002, 2003.
The dark age.
Check cards still, they're not new, but it's still kind of relatively, the banking was in the early steps of becoming tech friendly.
That's right, baby.
And what you would have to do is your check card didn't really work overseas. So you couldn't take your bank account and go to Portugal and then just start swiping your card everywhere. It just didn't really work that way. And if you did swipe your card somewhere, it was an astronomical fee associated with it because of international. Mm-hmm. There's still a lot of fees for using your card internationally, but it's not as bad as it was when in 2002, 2003. So anyways, what you had to do was, before you flew out, you went to the exchange at the airport, and there was usually a couple of them. There was usually like 2 or 3 exchanges in the airport.
Is this going to be a long story? Because
yes,
we'll grab some popcorn.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I would go to the exchange and wait in this long line, and there would be like 4 people at the counter, and then there's all kinds of grandmas there, and everyone. It was a lot of people there, a lot of traffic. And you do the same when you come back. You got all your foreign currency. You go to the exchange again, and you do this every time. But exchanges were very, very popular. There's a lot of them. There was a lot of people working at them. They were a lot larger. Now, good luck finding an exchange in the airport. I don't even know if those things exist. And every once in a while, you'll come across one, and you do. And now it looks like it's like a tiny little newsstand. It's very, very small,
minute,
and you might be lucky if there's one person working. And most of the time, there's nobody behind the counter. You're like looking around, and you're like, and so basically, the exchanges have went dry. But these exchanges are really realistically no different than what we have now, right? It's from going from one currency to another, to go from a dollar or the euro to the crypto. Those are the same thing. That's why they're called exchanges, because you're exchanging one currency for another. But what ended up happening was that banks made it more efficient to transact internationally. Banks made it more efficient to spend your dollars in a foreign currency without you even knowing how it works. Nobody really knew. I just know I go to Israel. I bring my damn check card with me. I just swipe it, and then I figure when I get home, it's all taken out of my bank account, conversion and everything. I did not need to go to the exchange at an airport and get currency. I'm trying to remember the name for the Israeli.
I'm trying to remember
currency.
what the fuck we're talking about.
So, anyways, what I'm saying is that exchanges now are going to fade because banks are going to come in and make it easier to get in and out of crypto through your bank, through your checking account, through your savings account, through your retirement account. You're not going to need exchanges. At least not to the level that we have now.
Exchanges are going to fade just like the little newsstand faded at the airports.
Not newsstand. The exchanges
The
in
currency exchange that you...
the exchange in the
I'm giving you
airport.
dollars, give me Thai baht.
Is it not a coincidence that the two are both called exchanges? One died because banks made it easier to transact internationally. And, well, exchanges for crypto are probably going to fade. They're going to lose market share, and that's for sure. But they're probably going to fade out of existence because the likes of Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Citibank, Deutsche Bank.
There's one exchange that is never going anywhere. Money for hookers. Just saying. Since the dawn of time, since the rock ages, it's been around. What do you mean? It's the truth. That line of work has been around for centuries. Am I wrong? Thank you.
And you don't think they'll eventually take
Bitcoin?
I'm telling you, man, go over here by the truck stop, bro.
Weren't
They're walking around there with the little square terminals.
Leave a tip. We have one in the studio too.
A hooker?
No, a square terminal. You're an idiot. Oh man. Okay. I really don't know what. Okay, we talked about OTC. Oh. Take a look at this. Okay, this is from Eric Balchunas or Balkunas. I don't know how you say his last name, but Eric, one of the best ETF analysts, says, "Holy smokes, this is arguably the most important full-throated endorsement of crypto from TradFi World since Larry Fink. This guy is Mr. RIA, Registered Investment Advisor, manages 300 billion. Robin, listen to these numbers. He manages $300 billion for 1.3 million clients. Tops the Barron's list of America's advisors regularly. And Rob, this is what his advice is. The traditional 60-40 stock bond allocation model is dead. This is due to unprecedented rates of longevity brought about by remarkable advances in technology. After 39 years in the financial services field, I'm announcing for the first time the correct crypto allocation. Conservative investors should not have a 10% allocation. Moderate clients should place a 25% of their portfolios in crypto. And aggressive clients should allocate 40% of their investments to crypto. Owning crypto is no longer a speculative position. Failing to do so is. A passive market-weighted index comprised of all asset classes would have 3% in crypto, so an investor who likes crypto is now effectively shorting it." And it goes on. Now, this isn't some advisor down the street. 1.3 million clients, Rob. $300 billion, and he's telling people, you want to be aggressive, throw 40% of your portfolio into crypto. These are big numbers. What are your thoughts here, guys? Rob.
You know,
Let me get.
I like his take on if you have no exposure to
You're
crypto, you're shorting it.
Yeah.
Which, you know, it's there's always a time to short the market, right? So there's also an impossibility of timing the market efficiently time and time again. And so could you short the market? Could you say, hey, Bitcoin's top is here, I'm not buying Bitcoin or I'm selling? Yeah, sure. Yeah, you can probably make some money that way. But my big takeaway here is that if you don't got crypto, you are going to lose money every single day.
Rob, define crypto. Because it's
Bitcoin.
not just, hey, let me pick something and buy.
It's essentially Bitcoin, and then to a smaller degree, if you want to diversify into some smaller alts. And I'm not talking about me, you, and our viewer here. I think we have the confidence to adequately invest in altcoins and turn a profit. But for the people that he represents, the people that he's talking to, the people that got that newsletter, is those individuals, we better suited with simply just buying Bitcoin and at least exiting the traditional bond market for sure. The bond market investment is essentially dead. Don't you agree? From in a retail or small investor perspective, what is the upside from bonds? If now with that said, sometimes there's a time to short the market. If you feel like you can time it, the bond market will outperform Bitcoin for small little time windows. But for an investment portfolio that is retirement based or something that is forward looking 5 years, the bond market just makes absolutely no sense if you're comparing it to Bitcoin, right?
I agree.
Now, index funds, I think that's probably what makes up the other 40 to 75% that he was saying. You know, if you're going to go 40%, his most bullish case for crypto was 40%.
Yeah.
Yeah. So even in that scenario, the other 60% is probably comprised of index funds, some allocation to bonds, and yeah, I don't know, maybe some commodities in there, but
Like I said, man, that's a big number. 40% is a massive number. Now, I'm not saying that everyone's gonna be like, oh, we need to do 40%. I'm sure people got to dip in the toe before you jump into the pool, right? So I'm sure people are like, you know what? 10% sounds reasonable. And Larry Fink has said what, 2.5 to 5%? This guy's saying conservative 10%. So very interesting. Again, if this was some regular advisor, I really wouldn't give a crap. But this guy has 1.3 million clients. I don't think this is small news.
But you see that first, see what I was talking about? The headline item there is traditional investment of 60-40 stock bond allocation is dead. I think that what he's alluring to is that 40%, which, he put 60-40 stock bond. So more than likely 40% in bond. I think that he's lost confidence in the bond market. Right. And so it's probably his model portfolio is probably,
60-40 crypto.
I don't think he's that far in, but
He said 40% crypto, right?
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You,
I'm like,
you can't.
yeah.
The whole idea of stock to bond is risk on, risk off, right? You want to balance. I'd rather see 60-40, like 60% risk on, and your bond gets replaced by precious metals and hard cap commodities like Bitcoin. I'd rather see that than, hey, the U.S. is about to raise the debt ceiling by $5 trillion. They're about to increase the debt by $5 trillion. Let me buy more of their debt. China's been lowering their exposure to U.S. debt. Japan has. Now, stable coins will come in and help fill in that void. But a lot of people don't know the Fed has slowly been buying U.S. treasuries and putting on their balance sheet. And so at the end of the day, that house of cards will tumble one day. You don't want to have $100 billion in bonds. You want to have assets that are apolitical and not tied to one government or one set of rules. And well, crypto and Bitcoin fits that narrative. I can't leave the show without giving a big shout out to our friends over at VeChain. Sonny Liu, the founder, talked about this on our show on Friday. Stargate is officially live. VeChain's new staking program launches with 5.5, let's round it up to 5.5 VTHOR in bonus rewards. Staking process, he talked about this in detail. If you want to know this in more detail from Sonny, go watch our show on Friday. That's when he was here. But essentially, you secure your position, you mint your staking NFT, and then you begin earning. Pretty simple. It has an entire breakdown. And so we love what VeChain is doing. So shout out to VeChain for the successful implementation of an upgrade or up with Stargate. And any comment here, Rob, before I wrap this sucker up?
No, sir.
No, sir. With that being said, thank you all so much for tuning in. Gina, we appreciate every single one of you. Make sure to stay here. You'll be automatically redirected to Assisting Trading, where our friend Alex O will be running the trading stream there. Have fun, guys. Until tomorrow.
Sin City, crypto. Everybody know we here for entertainment and info. Gonna show you how to get that big dough. So every day stay tapped in for big facts, no capping. With Bitcoin, if you're in, then you win. We divide the pie with no fraction. It's Big Rob, David. I split the game, but they gave it. Named according to your favorite. I got dry powder, why save it? To the OGs, new beginners. Special shout out to the well members. Buy the dip, sell winners. Ain't really nothing you can tell sinners. Tune in for the latest new flavors. They gonna teach us mean coins. They polarizing like barbecue chicken pizzas. I laugh with a major grin. Laggers, we trade them in. Baddies, they came to sin. And sinners gon' play to win.